Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Rock and Beards podcast, which seems to be the show where we break down stuff that's not hip hop, track by track through the albums. It's an album review show. My name is Holden Stephan Roy, and today we will be talking about Björk's Vespertine album. To those of you who actually just subscribed to the channel for the Björk reviews, I know it's been like 2 months, maybe even more since the last one, and I apologize for that. I took a little vacation in between this, and sometimes we're trying to get some stuff out as quick as possible, and if life happens, this bonus episode stuff is the easiest thing to push till next weekend, and here we are all this time later. Still, I've listened to the album a whole bunch, and I'm hella excited to get into this one with y'all. So I'm gonna do the intro bit. For those of y'all that are new here, I like to start this off by saying I'm not really a professional. This whole series is a bit of an experiment. I basically decided I'm gonna start reviewing all of Björk's albums in order, and I'm just gonna get through them all. And so any of your feedback or your comments or anything you want to say at all really in the comments is truly helpful. And if you make that effort to leave a comment and share your experience with me, I'll be more than happy to answer you, and we can have a little conversation out there. So far on the Björk reviews, quite a few of you have shown up and watched them, more than one of them, and it's been really like encouraging that there's like a reason to keep this series going, in a sense. Not to say that I wanted to stop, because I'm gonna be honest with y'all right here at the jump, Björk is truly a fascinating artist, where like the more I delve through her catalog, the more I'm like, I can't even wait to see what comes next. But before we get into the episode proper, special thanks to the patrons: Ismail Gademsi, Chris Prado, Jonathan Barnes, DJ Black, Hurricane, Lindo Williams, and Coney Sparks. They're dope. We're going to talk about that at the end. But while you're still watching, and for the audio versions, plug in it here, because that's my promise to them. So I just started off contextualizing my familiarity with the artist. In this case, it's Björk, and just my experience with her music and whatnot. Because if y'all are coming into this and you've been long time fans, like since way back in the day, you're gonna maybe have different emotions or feelings elicited through the tracks on something like a Vespertine or any of the albums really than I will, as a person whose first album of exposure was the Utopia project she dropped in I think it was 2017 at this point. That's a couple years ago. I hope a new one's coming. But basically that was my first exposure to her music, and we got It Is the video that has generated the third, based on subscribers gained, it is our third most popular video, which is crazy to me. So like the fact that so many people clearly had an interest in Björk made me go, okay, this might be the right person to start a discography run with. And part of it too was just how amazed I was by her wordplay and her poetry, and I was just amazed, right? Like I didn't know what to expect. I just knew she was weird, and I went into it pretty open-minded, and I was pleasantly surprised. And then to this point, I've done Debut, I've done Post, I've done the Selma Songs album, and the other one that comes between them that I can't remember, the Homogenic, that's the one. So I've now listened to all of those in Utopia. I watched Dancer in the Dark, and that brings us to the next one in line, coming out in 2001. I'm using the US internet release that was on Spotify, because the truth of the matter is I'm a little bit lazy about looking for originals and checking into differences, because we do a lot of these reviews. So it's whatever's on Spotify goes, and if y'all want to recommend some fresh ass differences or point them out in the comments and anything that might be changed, I'd be really curious to hear it, because I made almost no effort to look into that. I've also chosen to not watch a lot of the documentaries and reviews and interviews and stuff she's done. I'm kind of trying to understand where she's at in life as I go into the albums, because it's kind of interesting. But I feel like if Björk's gonna tell me what the song's about, I'm not gonna try as hard to try to figure out what it means to me per se. And I use Genius not for like inspiration in the descriptions, but you can't help but read the shit that's there. So there's already a whole bunch of stuff that's gonna be impacting my ability. So hearing it from her directly, it would be too impactful. And I decided I'm gonna like wait till I'm done this quest to really go through that kind of stuff, like any documentaries or movies or story stuff that's kind of in addition. Though I mean, you can't help but get curious and look stuff up along the way. Still, we are here at Vespertine. This is the album that I believe at this point, I don't think they were yet married, but it's when she met the guy, or she was kind of starting to get real into the dude she marries and then divorces later on. I don't remember his name, but that dude. And so I think that's like an important part as we get into the content of this album. Another thing I did learn, because again, there was still information out there, and she felt that Homogenic was very large in the way it was composed, big sounds, loud, kind of out there, and it really was a crazy cool experience like that. And in this case, she wanted to go in a completely different direction. So rather than bring this up on every song, because I'm not really good at that kind of thing from the music side of descriptions, I thought it was an extremely fascinating thing how she would essentially just record a bunch of regular ass sounds, lots of little what she would call micro sounds, so I guess like scratches or ambient noises and isolated things. And if you really like look at, so I once went through like this, we have like sound engineering schools in Montreal, and I went to one of them, the open house, and they brought you into a room, and they was just a bunch of like objects, like cylinders and shit you could bang and scrape and make a whole bunch of different kinds of a wide array of sounds with. And essentially, you'd be given as like a course thing, a silent piece of a movie, just like a clip from a movie, and it was your job to use the items in the room to create the ambient sounds that one would expect to hear. So if you saw a door opening, you would have to go find door opening sounds in this room. And that's kind of what I pictured when I like started listening to the sounds. It's almost like Björk went around and like captured a whole bunch of sounds and just flipped it into music. And I think something that's been truly impactful to me before we like really get into the album is it was something like on the, I don't know when it was, but along the way I realized Björk just kind of sees music different, like kind of like how Selma just takes the sounds and turns them into songs and stuff. Like I kind of see Björk like that. Like I could see how she's just chilling on like a subway and she hears the or whatever, and then she flips that into a beat in her head and starts layering on the vocal. Like I could see how she does that, because ever since I started listening to Björk and imagining her doing that, I've been trying to like just stop and listen for the music of the environment, the natural sounds to create a cadence and a landscape, especially for moments when I don't have headphones blasting my own shit. So it's almost like if you can learn to hear the music in the surroundings, it creates like the same effect almost as the headphones in a way. And I find it not like 100%, let's be real, like it's not, but it is pretty incredible how much natural rhythms kind of synchronize in life to create such a profound ambient track that you almost hear in different environments. And I thought that was really cool, and Björk allowed me to notice that kind of stuff. That's actually changed, honestly, entirely because of her. We put out like, I don't know, 450 maybe or so reviews of stuff, and Björk is like one of the only people to have had that kind of impact on how I perceive things. Not to say she's the only one, but like in this specific regard, yeah, she was very impactful. So go Björk. I don't know if y'all care about that kind of stuff, but I mean, you're at a podcast to talk about Björk, so I imagine you care somewhat what I think at this point. Still, I think it's about time to get into it. Album cover has like a nakedy looking Björk in some white stuff, and it's all like white. Maybe she's not naked, but it's like it looks kind of like she could be or whatever. It's just white though, like everything's whitewashed in like a literal way, in like a grayscale kind of way. And yeah, she looks like she's in the throes of fucking passion on her face. Like her dude is like performing some cunnilingus or something off camera, and like she's just real into it. Maybe that's just my imagination going with it, having heard the freaking content of this album. And sorry if that is explicit, but I have zero idea how to approach this album without getting a little explicit sometimes, because I mean, if y'all saw the video to Pagan Poetry, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, the album's called Vespertine, and on the real, I didn't even look that up. So give me 1 second, YouTube, and I'll come back to you with a thought. So I tried real hard to try to find like some information on the wiki page or something that clued it in, and then I went to the definition, because maybe that was a smarter choice. I didn't even realize Vespertine's a word, like an adjective. It means relating to, occurring, or active in the evening. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense for this project. Spoiler alert, that's a great freaking title for the content of what this album will bring us through. And now that I know that, because I really just did it until this moment where we're learning together with me, that's maybe one of the most aptly named albums in like a brevity point of view. Like, how many people can really capture the essence of their entire project in one word and make it such a weird 3-syllable word so it's like fly as fuck like that? Go Björk. Let's talk about The Hidden Place. I'm like pretty sure she has her voice and shit in this beat, like the ahs kind of sounds that play in. It's got like this sparse, like, well, the rhythms are crazy. The rhythms are all over the place on this one, but like in a cool kind of like you're instantly captivated. Like you're like, wait, this is unlike other stuff I've really heard before. And then the ambient kind of sound in the background, I feel like at first it's almost like ambient music in the sense that like it's lacking any real strong qualities. It's just this more background bassy sound to kind of fill in the beat, and then Björk kind of layers it in with more and more sounds in and out throughout the rest of the track. But I would say that it is subdued in the nature of the experience I felt on this track right away. Lyrically, I wasn't 100% sure what the album was going to bring to the table with that kind of a sound, because I feel like it's almost somber and dark and scary in a way. But here with lyrics, we have, through the warmest cord of care your love was sent to me. I'm not sure what to do with it or where to put it. Now that is an ominous, scary thing. So I'm going to assume that most of y'all watching have actually had that moment where you go through the kind of love where you let your guard down. Not the kind of love where you hook up for a quick minute and like date for a quick minute and nothing serious. I'm talking about the kind of stuff where you're forced to be vulnerable around this person in intimate ways, and that, like, you know, that kind of deepness with it. And that's what I picture her describing here, right? Because your love was sent to me, and then the real truth of those moments actually is that you never really expect them. Like with the girl I'm currently with, like, we're like 5 years deep now, but like at first it was never meant to be this. I was absolutely against the idea of this becoming a serious thing. And yet 5 years later, she's still there. Go figure. If anybody tells you FWBs do not turn into serious situations, I call bullshit. 5 years deep, guys. Anyway, so like I thought it was pretty cool, right? Because it's such an honest take on love. A lot of people romanticize love like they want it, but what they want is this lustful, hedonistic pursuit that gets sold on television. Love is fucking vulnerable and scary. So it made sense when I started thinking about what she's describing here versus the tone of the music. I'm so close to tears. I'm so close to simply calling you up and simply suggesting we go to that hidden place. And then it's almost like explosive. We go to that hidden place. And she like sings it out and whatever. So she's all like tense and kind of like curious and subdued on the verses. And if you think about what she's actually saying here, she's like, I'm feeling away in the dark and I'm thinking about you, and yo, let's Netflix and chill. Like she's basically like, come on, let's booty call that shit. Let's go to our special, not like booty calling a bad way, but like if you start dating somebody and it's like serious, you sometimes call them up to fuck. That's just a thing that happens, people. And then the way she explodes, it's almost like it's ethereal and magical, your hidden place. Now, this reminds me of the beginning of any relationship I've had that's proper, when you're really curious about each other and everything's kind of new. So we used to do these things where, depending on the age and level of maturity, we would like skip work and everything and basically just spend the day in bed, and perhaps there was some greenery involved, if you catch my drift, and we would go to our hidden place, which often also involved some less than appropriate conversation for civil discussion. But mostly it wasn't the sex or drugs or anything like that. It was the intimacy and the emotion. Like when you look somebody that you care for significantly in the eye, and the whole world kind of like fades away, and in this emotional, magical world you go to your hidden place. And I'm like, that's crazy how apt she's putting this. Apt appears to be my word of the review, or one of many. Then she goes into the second verse where the beats kind of evolved, and I believe about now is when her vocals drop into it, and she's like, now I've been slightly shy and I can smell a pinch of hope to almost have allowed one's fingers to stroke the fingers I was given a touch with. So here it's almost like, I guess there's this moving towards a more physical intimacy. I think she's trying to make sure you're very aware of where she's going with this, but almost like it's evolving from maybe you meet this person and you're very interested, but you want it to progress. So maybe they haven't, like, maybe she follows the 3-date rule, which is where you don't do it till date 3, and this is like after date 1 or whatever, and she's anticipating it, and then on date 2 their fingers touch as they get a little more close and whatnot. And then it goes into this, but careful, careful, there lies my passion hidden, there lies my love, I'll hide it under a blanket, lull it to sleep. And that's some shit I seen before, as the dude, I have literally seen women do what she is describing here, kind of like flirt with the idea that all of the passion and whatever's inside of them, but instead of embracing it in some way, and I get it, guys are what they are these days. I'm not ignorant to how we have treated the female gender. Not to generalize, but stats and my anecdotal stats allow me to say that most people I know can claim that there is good reason for ladies to maybe hide some of their love under a blanket, as they'll put it, because, which is even clever, right? Because it's not just like your love, it's almost implying your love under a blanket. And, you know, and she's kind of trying to, and I believe what she's really trying to convey there is, I'm horny and I want that shit, but I'm not gonna let myself have that shit because ultimately it's too scary. And like I said, I've been there, and that's been a real moments in my life. So it's kind of weird, I think, to hear Björk singing out stuff, and I swear it's like partners of my past could have said those words to me and it would be true in a way. And then the chorus comes back in, and then she flips it. So instead of we go there, which is almost this fantasy at the beginning, now it's I'll keep it in a hidden place, I'm gonna hide it. So maybe this whole song is like at the beginning when she's fantasizing a lot. I don't really know, but I know that she's invoking this kind of subject matter. He's the beautifulest, fragilest, still strong, dark, and littleness of his movements hides himself. He invents a charm that makes him invisible, hides his hair. Can I hide there too? Hide in the hair of him, seek solace, sanctuary. And that's, I assume, her version of like a person she sees comfort in him. And I know that I've had moments where girls want to do that thing where they want to cuddle up into your nook, as they call it, and escape and go to their hidden place. And there's something to that magic of being with somebody and feeling like all of your problems just kind of go away and you escape like that. I can tell you one thing, I related to this album from a having lived that shit point of view. It was really weird hearing how beautiful that was put together. Overall, sonically, this is definitely another one in the realms of like, I don't know that I would ever like go put this on just to listen to it, because it is so out of the realms of my, like, I guess what I listen to for fun music. But on the other hand, Björk is the kind of artist where I could see myself feeling like I want to listen to a Björk album and run through it the whole way through. So just understand where I'm coming from with all of this. I'm giving this a 4.5 on 5 because its composition is next level. It's truly enjoyable song, and I'm really into honest emotional music like that. It's just a little bit of a thing I'm a sucker for. On that note, there's still a lot more songs on this project, and as you can tell, I'm pretty enthused so far. And yo, these songs are long. Can we just pause for a second? 5 minutes 29 seconds is this track. On the exception of two songs, they're all almost 5 minutes or more. Crazy lengths, Björk. Crazy lengths. Let's talk about how before the butterfly or the moth comes, there's the cocoon. So, like, is it possible that the whole ASMR community, all the crap that they do is half of them are doing it to help you sleep, the other half are chicks making money off of dudes. I wonder if this whole community, like, heard this song. I heard this seductive sounds of the staticiness to it. It literally sounds like sexy time ASMR, which if you didn't know is basically the same thing as other ASMR, but if you watched a video, she's got a lot of cleavage. I know this because I went down the ASMR rabbit hole like most people probably did, because you're like, what the fuck is this shit? It turns out it's mostly normal stuff, kind of, if you're into it. And then, I don't know, apparently it helps you sleep. I felt like I can't sleep with headphones on, so it doesn't do crap for me. But then I realized there's the dark side of ASMR. And I listened to some of that. Again, curiosity. It's not really my cup of tea, but holy fuck, the static quality of this track, like when you're listening to it, it's sexy. Like this is the kind of album where, like, you might go up to your partner halfway through and be like, yo, we gotta go do a thing, because it doesn't matter, we just gotta do it. That's the kind of impact I felt like this. It was weird. I was not expecting this, right? Like, how does the song start? Who would have known that a boy like him would have entered me lightly, restoring my blisses? Now, I think this is a double entendre. I think she's talking about, on a spiritual, conceptual, emotional, fill me up point of view. But she's also talking about the cock. She's talking about getting laid. And I'm like, wow. Like I make music myself. It's not really something I talk about a lot on this, because it's not usually relevant. But one of the songs I always wanted to write is, like, say I get married one day, I want to write a song called Married People Sex, where it's just like, yo, if you get married, you can just do kinky shit and it's all good. Not that you can't do it unmarried, but I feel like if you're married, you can just, like, take it to a whole new level if you want. Like married people get down. That's what I'm trying to, well, I mean, happy ones do, or like functional ones, but like, I don't know why there's this weird media illusion where it's like you get married and you stop fucking proper. So having Björk kind of, like, in a really normal and almost mature way discuss getting penetrated like that with a partner that she cares for deeply, but in a pretty explicit, not so explicit, radio friendly way, clever ass woman. I respect it, because I feel like the way we all deal with sex is so fucking weird. Like, if you listen to rap music as much as I do, you come to realize that, like, A, half these rappers have boring sex, and B, the way it's described is not, it's just boring to me. Maybe y'all like that, but, like, not to me. When I hear this, though, there's like this, like, I can almost picture the look on her face as she's, like, considering it all and whatnot, and thinking about, I don't know, there's some realism here. Like, I could have been in this, not like Björk's partner, but you know what? This is gonna be the clumsiest ass fucking review I've ever done, and I'm gonna own that shit unapologetically. Anyway, who would have known that a boy like him, after sharing my core, would stay going nowhere? And with my current girl, without saying too much, look, once you intimately get intimate in a way that, like, y'all know there's, like, the one-nighter quick version, and then there's the you let your guard down version. And once you've done that, the fear is that you let your guard down, it gets real, and person dips. And then I know that, like, when you stick around, and I mean, this is, like, mutual. Like, I could just be saying that a girl like her, after, sharing my core, would stay going nowhere. I'm a Scorpio. If y'all know about zodiacs, that's some complicated emotional trust issues right there. And so when I heard that, I'm like, yo, this is, again, really relatable and honest. It really just describes what the first time almost of having sex is like. Like, you have this super intimate, like, with a partner, not like ever, you have this super intimate moment, and then you got this vulnerability, and then it's like this immediate, like, faith, because you're both like, nah, we like each other still, and it's like this weird ethereal experience. Like I didn't expect to like this song the first time I heard it. I thought the first playthrough this was one of my least favorite songs, and then I started really listening to it and getting lost into the mythical, like, fairiness of Björk on this track. And I related again just so very much to how, with the emotions and whatnot, like, maybe not as somebody who's being penetrated, but as the penetrator. Man, this is fucking weird. Who would have known a beauty this immense? Who would have known a saintly trance? Who would have known miraculous breath to inhale a beard loaded with courage? Just throwing it out there. My beard is loaded with courage. I don't know if that was meant to be something else, but I guess that applies to my lady. She inhales the beard of courage. Because, like, literally, if we're, like, making out or something, right? She's gonna inhale. I'm certain, like, a beard hair or two will go up. But I really like it, right? Like, she just kind of makes it a little personal, and you can just picture the breath on him, and you can just picture this moment of intimacy where she's just with him in their hidden place, now inside of this little cocoon. And when you're having those intimate moments, it kind of, like, it's almost like making those blanket burrito for two. Who would have known that a boy like him possessed the magical sensitivity would approach a girl like me who caresses cradles in his head. He slides in her bosom, and I'm like, okay. So she's like, wow, he wants me. In like whatever, but it's more deep. It's like he wants me for who I am, for like the person I actually am, like seeing the crazy. I think that's how people describe it now, when you see the crazy inside of the lady and you choose to still be with her. And then he goes, he slides inside, half awake, half asleep, we faint back into sleephood. And I'm like, I've literally had that sex too. Like that part where you're like, wake up and you do the half asleep nookie thing. And honestly, literally she's describing in this moment, he has gone inside of her. And now while inside of her, they have fallen back asleep together. And then when she wakes the second time in his arms, he's still inside of her. So they basically spent the night with him inside of her. Now, just to go a little anatomical here, I don't know that can we stay hard that long? Like, that would be my first thought. Like, I'm not implying anything, but is that possible? Anyway, I don't know if that's something people share in the comments, but I can't believe this is what I'm talking about on the podcast. I've gone through gangster rap album, all the rap albums, all of the raps you can think about, and Björk has me freaking blushing here describing penises in the vaginas. Anyway, it gets better. Who would have known? A train of pearls, cabin by cabin, is shot precisely across an ocean. And I'm like, that's the cum shot. So this could either be in the vag and he's cream pieing her, or a mouth could be like an ocean, and after doing the bang, she's one to take a load in the mouth. I don't know if this is disrespectful. I don't know how else to describe this. This is literally what the track's about. From the mouth of a girl like me to a boy. So I'm assuming he shot it in her mouth, maybe. But like, I swear to God, this song turned me the fuck on at first when I realized what was going on here, and I was like, wow, very little music I have actually found this attractive and sexy. Like, to me, this is fine as fuck. This is like poetry sex, and I'm like, she's already hot, let's be real. Like, I think Björk's fine, a very attractive lady. I very much respect her and admire her and like whatever, but I couldn't help but picture Björk engaged in intercourse while listening to this song. I mean, y'all understand why here. But wow, I thought it was so intimate and so interesting, and I've never heard a song that made me want to bang my girlfriend as badly as this song. Like, that's what makes this special. It's not like you want to go smash. It's you want to go smash the person you care about and want to, I don't know, I guess make love is better than smash in the context. Anyway, 5 on 5. This is a truly remarkable song. Like, it's just this ethereal, soft-ass, fucking interesting track that completely caught me off guard with its ASMR, elusive, seductive qualities and crap. Anyway, next track on this project is called It's Not Up to You. This one also has some staticky stuff, but it's like more uplifting and different, right? And lyrically it's not as uplifting and whatnot, but I think I understand what the track's trying to get at. Sonically, it's got like a lot of evolution in terms of, again, the sounds coming in and out. I know there's one part about 2 or 3s through and almost struck straight to her vocals before like exploding into this like magnificent next part. Lots of sounds. Again, I don't really know how to describe anything Björk does musically. I don't know what any of the sounds were. I don't even know if she used instruments for any of this shit. Ultimately speaking, I like the track too. Basically, in this song, she starts it off by going, I wake up and the day feels broken. I tilt my head, I'm trying to get an angle because the evening I've always longed for, it could still happen. And that's an interesting little start there. Because I don't know if you're like me, but I like to have things go the way I want them to go. What I mean is, I want to wake up at the right time. I want to work my way to a point where I get to the perfect moment of my day, which results in the culmination of a bunch of stuff, you know? And if you look at Björk, that's what think she's getting at with, because the evening I've always longed for, it could still happen. So she wants this moment, but she starts off with a broken day. So in my life, I look at it like, I wanted to wake up this past Saturday real early, get on all my reviewing, and get to the point where this Björk review is getting recorded. Well, that didn't happen. I woke up late and had to remanage my time and etc. Because whatever. I keep forgetting that at 31, you can't survive on 6 hours of sleep every day if you're like me. You need a couple rest days. And then, you wake up late and it just kind of throws everything into a chaos for the rest of the day. And then you start to look in the pre-chorus as she expands on this idea a little further. How can I achieve the perfect day coming from a point of chaos? So how do I master the perfect day? 6 glasses of water, 7 phone calls. If you leave it alone, it might just happen anyway. So what I think she's trying to get at with this is that there's things you're supposed to do. Like if you eat an apple every day, if you get your exercise, if you do all the things that you're supposed to do, in theory, you can achieve what we believe to be is this perfect day. On the other hand, if you do absolutely none of the things you're supposed to do, it could also just be a perfect day. Because the truth about perfect days is that it's not really about what you want. It's not even up to you. It never really was. And I like that. I like the chorus. It's like, it's not up to you. You know how she sings it. But like, it really hits in this point where it culminates, where you realize at this moment, okay, so we've gone through the point where she's frustrated, she's trying to get to a thing, she's just even being pensive, trying to strategize on how to achieve perfection, and then realizing that the choice was never hers anyways. And then if you wake up and the day feels broken, just lean into the crack, and it will tremble ever so nicely. Notice how it sparkles down there. And that's fascinating too. This is something I get reminded of if I wake up in a pissy mood about how the things are. Sometimes shit just doesn't go the way that you want it to. And you can either be a negative Nancy about that, negative Nelly, whatever. Or you can kind of roll with it and just let the day be as it is. And then you'll notice if you start to roll with it, instead of fighting the ebbs and flows of how stuff happens, it'll actually sparkle super nicely down there in the cracks where you thought it would be absolute garbage, because in theory it's a crack to the foundation of your plans. I don't know, I thought that was pretty cool. I think the tone of this song is fascinating, and I'll tie it into the bigger picture after I'm done. I can decide what I give, but it's not up to me what I get given. Unthinkable surprises about to happen, but they are what they are, or whatever. So what she's saying here is basically the serenity prayer. It's like, have the wisdom to know what you can control, what you can't control, and, understand the difference, because you control your reactions and you can control your end of the situation. But on the other hand, you have no control over how anything else is going to be. So really, we have very little control except how we choose to react and how we choose to manage our own expectations. Like, expectation management has been a huge part of my life in the last couple of years, and it's absolutely changed everything for me. And I think that's what Björk's trying to get at. In a sense, she wrote y'all a fucking self-help book in a song. For real. That's it. You really like all the core fundamentals of what, like 300 pages of some crap that's going to be a #1 bestseller will boil down to, you can't control what other people do, you can only control what you do, and if you roll with shit instead of fighting it, you'll probably do better in life. And Björk banged that out in a little song right here. So this is important for the album, because clearly she just met this dude, she smashed the dude, she's not, getting excited and whatever, but what comes next? In real life, you start to think about it, you start to doubt it, you start to have questions about it, and you start to wonder if it's right. And all sorts of doubt kicks in, because if you're like most of us, you probably don't want yourself to have good things and self-sabotage and all that other crap. So fundamentally, I think it's fascinating how right after introducing the character that she's in love with, in a sense, or in lust with, or becoming enamored with, she immediately flips into her desire for control and her learning how to accept that it's not really in her control, and so she has to learn how to roll with things. So that also counters with that she's probably a stubborn girlfriend and not the easiest person to date, giving a little sense of her personality in that, but also her willingness to adapt and grow and accept this new thing that's in her life. So I think this is absolutely a pivotal freaking song for this project to keep moving it along. And I think Vespertine is really well made from a conceptual point of view. I digress. Let's move on to track 4 on this album, and this one's called Undo.
Too hard.
There's definitely different sounds in this. There's dinglies and zoops and other, like, I feel like this one's more foresty or something. I don't know, serene or something. I don't know what the right word is. I can't figure it out. But like, it starts off and it just feels like the tone is shifted. So in the last song, right, we have her emotionally trying to realize and learn how to accept, I guess, certain parts of rolling with the ebbs and flows of life in order to not, maybe she doesn't have full control. And then we're looking at another side of this. It's not meant to be a strife. It's not meant to be a struggle uphill. That's an interesting point. Life maybe isn't meant to be as complicated as we make it. Maybe in our efforts to have all of this control and dictate every second of our day, and if you're into time management like me, you're always thinking about the ways to optimize your hour use and all this crap and struggle and blah blah blah. Now, at one point in my life, it was a real uphill struggle full of strife. You'll notice if you go watch some of my older videos, you'll notice I'm a little more peaceful these days because I was trying too hard. So I had to surrender, and I had to give it myself in to the fact of life and what it is. And there was a lot to accept, I suppose. My current circumstances, my successes, my failures, all of that crap. But then more importantly, how to learn how to roll with my expectations and stuff. And I thought it was really sweet. So this song has this like super like it's not meant to be a strife over this like high heart, like it's just fluty. It feels like in the upper end of stuff, and then it just kind of explodes more and more passionately as the song evolves. It flows back into the chorus after that. I mean, she just kind of lets herself go at first. She stops trying to fight it. It's warmer now. Lean into it. Unfold in a generous way. Surrender. So it's like as you start to give into this almost new way of life, you gain momentum with it, which makes sense. And then it kind of evolves and flows through the chorus. It's not meant to be a strife, etc. She layers in the surrenders and kind of adds to it. So it's almost like this track is like a mantra for her to put on when she's feeling a certain way, to like remind herself what life is meant to be for herself. I thought that was like, that's some meta ass dope shit right there. I'm praying to be in a generous mood, the kindness kind to share me. And I'm like, wow, that's an amazing place to want to get at. It's almost like she recognized how maybe one way of living in her life, isolated, maybe selfish, was bad. And she's trying to like, and I mean on an emotional front, I don't really know if she's a selfish or selfless person, but I mean I feel like she's evolving emotionally into somebody that can almost share the love and crap inside of her, because keep in mind, her instinct is to hide her love under the covers and crap, you know, not maybe give in. And I think this song has a truly beautiful sound to it, honestly. Like, I don't know, it's just really nice. There's an outro. If you're bleeding, if you're sweating, if you're crying, darling, oh, I unravel. And I guess when she sees this person in different states, she can't help but lose herself in it, kind of tying it back into the partner that she's been describing earlier on the album. I don't have a lot more to say on this track. It's a 4.5, and in case I forgot to give a grade on the last track, because I might have forgot, it's also a 4.5. I'm hella fucking excited to talk about the next track, Pagan Poetry.
A handshake
had I done the review, originally when I planned to do the review, it would have been before Björk released the music video to this song, where I didn't know what to expect in this track. But I did see on Reddit, just Googling random crap, that there was footage of her performing fellatio on her husband, dude. And that's in the video. And you can see a clip that's pretty clearly, I mean, it's like heavily edited, and so it's not actually that clear. But once you realize how the editing works, you can kind of unfilter it, and you can clearly see a couple of seconds, and it's like she's going in on that thing. That's what I'm trying to say. And you technically see Björk blowing the dude in the video. She's definitely covered in all these piercings, and it is a fun video. And I liked it a lot. I liked seeing Björk in that state. It was fun, and it really fit the song. Like, it wasn't like a dirty, sex-y, whatever kind of thing. It was artful, but how amazingly bold is it that she used the, like, footage of the literal sex that inspired this album in the music video. That, to me, is actually kind of incredible. When you actually look at the verses, pedaling through the dark, or I guess we can start in the music, it's got this kind of weird, mystical, upbeat sound going on. There's like this deep pulsiness that kicks on through the song, and it dingles its way on through into explosive, mystical sense. I don't know how to describe it, but it sounds like fucking sex. Like, once you realize what's going on, it just sounds like this fairy forest sex is happening on this track to me. I can't not think about sex on this song now. So pedaling through the dark currents, I find an accurate copy, a blueprint of the pleasure in me. So I feel like this sounds like she's diddling herself, because, like, if you think about it, in the dark currents of life, you're alone, you figure out what you like, maybe, or you discover the pleasure in your side of yourself. Or maybe it's with this guy and she's pedaling with him, and through him she discovers a deeper pleasure in me. And I can see how it's possible. Like, listen, as much as solo time is fun, what a good partner can do is just much more explosive than solo time, to me at least. And then, like, swirling black lilies, totally ripe, a secret code carved. It's just fucking weird and ethereal, and you're like, that is some strange imagery. I don't know what it means, but it's a weird imagery to me. He offers a handshake, crooked 5 fingers. They form a pattern yet to be matched. And I don't 100% get that, but if I were to take a guess, they kind of come together in this unique and strange way that is not so conventional, but she's never found anything quite like this one before. On the surface, simplicity, but the darkest pit in me, and it's pagan poetry. And I like the idea of pagan poetry, right? Because sex to me is art. Like, I've always seen sex as an artistic endeavor where if you're doing it right, you're really an artist and it's all canvas work. And pagan is almost like the opposite of what you're supposed to do. Like, if you come from a religious background, you're probably brainwashed into some crap where you're not supposed to like sex and whatnot. So in a sense, this desire could be construed as just pagan poetry. Like, it would be banned from the church and whatnot. Morse coding signals, they pulsate, they wake me up from my hibernating. I kind of pictured it like, I've heard that when a member is inside of a woman, you can feel it pulsating, and I've been told that that's an exciting thing to feel, especially in a moment of climax. And I've heard that in the climaxing moments, that can elicit another kind of the female climax in response to the male one. And it just kind of sounds to me here like she's encoded that when dude nutted up inside of her, she blasted. And I'm not saying that's what happened, and I'm certain that nobody else has described this song with this level of like this language. I'm wondering if you guys can point me at that review. That would be sick to watch. I'd like to watch somebody else doing this, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, then the song kind of goes through the hook again, and then she goes into this outro where I think it's beautiful. So something about the beginning part of making love and intimacy is how complicated the emotional state really is, and the questioning of it all. And then I guess the way this outro comes, right? Like after you fuck in a really deep way, in a really like you into each other kind of way, and you're in that moment right after. So I'm like I said, I'm pretty sure they're all blasting and finishing up in the last verse, and so now you're left with that aftermath. And if you've ever had amazing intercourse with the aftermath, you might be left with a moment where you're like, I love him, and then it flows out like that. And the way she does it is so serene, and she's saying it, and then it's almost like a chorus or something surrounds her. She loves him, and it like keeps it going, as if it's like it's so overwhelming and it's just so real. It's so real that everyone knows now. And then she goes, this time I'm going to keep it to myself. This time I'm going to keep me all to myself. And he makes me want to hand over myself, and he makes me want to hand myself over. And so if you think about what it's almost like she's trying to resist the urge of giving yourself to another person, the submission of love. Because let me be real with you. When you in real love with somebody, there is so much submission to that person. It is very challenging for those of us that don't like to submit at all. Like, she can't watch this review and find out I said this, but I would absolutely have to admit that I would submit to her will for her happiness more than I would like to admit I would, because that's what's up when you really care about somebody. And so I like that the song kind of ends with this elusive flowing into her kind of recognizing that she's giving herself over to him, especially. Okay, for the dudes out there watching this that may want a little trick, I've learned one little secret to my dating life, and it's within reason. There's almost nothing in life I've done wrong or pissed her off with or annoyed her that after an eccentrically her-centric experience in the bedroom, she's never been mad after that. So if she's really mad and you didn't do something stupid like cheat on her, that's a good way out of trouble most of the time, as long as you don't play it stupid. Trust me. Anyway, this track is fantastic. Like, this song is so fucking layered and well put together, and it progresses, and it's super awesome. I really like it. And so I'm gonna give it a 5 because it's freaking a banger. And then weird, like, R&B didn't do it for me. None of it really did it for me. Björk's doing it for me in that way. Anyway, I don't think my girlfriend would want to listen to Björk during those moments, but I would be down for that. This might be weird for y'all. Sorry if I keep saying that. It's just sometimes I'm having these like self-aware flashes to what this must sound like to like y'all watching me say this, and I just hope it's entertaining. I digress. Next track's called Frosti. This is 1 minute and 41 seconds of dingles. I know that's not like the best way to describe it, but it's like a chandelier, like the dingly crap that hangs that the wind will make dingle on a porch or something. It's like that, really like layered in a beautiful way. And what this song really reminds me of, so we think about what happened on the last track. She banged it out and fell in love. And that reminds me of a week I had when I was in the more promiscuous phase of my life. And I may have engaged in a little MDMA use and with some ladies at different times, but 2 times in the same week with 2 different ladies. And I was super honest about this. So everybody knew what was up. Like, nobody expected me to not be out there doing other things, kind of thing. And that week, the MDMA will make you kind of basically live out pagan poetry in a night, even if you didn't have those emotions before. And in the same week, 2 separate chicks were like flat out on this MDMA shit. I am so fucking into you. And I'm like, whoa, that is some real stuff. But when I listen to Frosti here, I pictured those moments when you're kind of like after the peak of the high and you're like coming down and you're lying there, each other next and just cuddling, and It's got this weird tingly feeling. I don't know how to really describe it if you've never done it. If you have, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. And this song sounds like that feeling after sex. And it just flows super perfectly into the next track. And I think considering the emotional state everybody's at the end of Pagan Poetry through the journey we've gone on. So Björk met dude, wanted to bang dude, bangs dude, I guess. Realizes her loss of control in the situation, realizes falling in love is not actually a struggle, completely lets herself go, and let's just say hits the big O, falls in love, Frosti's it up here as she comes down a little bit, and it feels like a bit of a crash after a high of the first half of this album. And then we've been trying this little thing here where we're cutting them into 2 separate parts. So I'm gonna get to part 2 as soon as I can, get it recorded. But this is going to be the first half of this part, and then, yeah, we're going to just talk about the next 6 tracks on the next half of the album review. So thank y'all for watching. I really appreciate it. I mean, I find this format, though, lets me take more time and not feel rushed, so it's actually better for y'all. Thank y'all for watching. I look forward to seeing what y'all say in the comments. I cannot promise it doesn't take 2 months for me to put out the next Björk review, but I promise you that I certainly don't want it to take that long, and I want to get through her albums, and I'm really excited, and I can't wait to see what comes up. And then maybe I'll even revisit Utopia for a little mini review at the end of that. So I look forward to seeing all your comments. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Tells YouTube great shit. Hit the subscribe button for part 2 and other Björk reviews and other reviews if you're down for that. Let me know what you care about outside of Björk. I'm curious to know what Björk fans also listen to, because I wonder, I just wonder if there's Björk fans with my music palette out there, as I guess where I'm coming from. Before we leave, special thanks to the patrons: Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Prado, Jonathan Barnes, DJ Black Hurricane, Linda Williams, Coney Sparks, and I think that's all of them. They got us a new camera. They help us out a lot. They're going to be paying for our website soon, and if you want to support us and help us get to that next level, it's a super awesome way for you to do that. And I just realized, I think this review is going to be twice the length of the last, well, maybe not twice, but it's significantly longer than the last Björk review. So at the very least, we managed to make these reviews a lot longer in the time since my last Björk review, as we've moved into this 2-part format. So thanks for watching. I make music myself, like I mentioned in the middle. Links below in the description. I'd love to hear your feedback on that. And have yourself a great day. Peace.